Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Radha Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Gaura Pimanande Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pri Vrajgacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Sirabai Charanadvin Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandiviti Founder Charya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Granthalas Bhagavatam Ki Danitai Gaura Pimanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to see Guru and to see Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Sarakaya Dakshurindritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Darati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Dharam Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu
Nashtrayesu bhatreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Tamashloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati
Bhaktir
Naistiki.
Bhavati Naishtaki.
By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama
Idam Bhagavatam Nama
Puranam Brahma Samhitam
Puranam Brahma Samhitam
Uttama Shloka Charitam
Uttama Shloka Charitam
Sakara Bhagavan Rishi
Chakara Bhagavan Rishi
Nishreyasaya Lokasya
Nishreyasaya Lokasya
Dhanyam Swasayanam Mahat.
Swasayanam Mahat.
The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantharaj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Sridham Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Mukam karoti basalam pagum langayate girim. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to our morning discourse on the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're continuing from canto number 1. I'm sorry, canto number 2. Canto 2, chapter 1, which is entitled The First Step in God Realization. We have a little bit of a long purport this morning. So text number 10 is Tad Aham Te Vidhasyami Maha Porushiko Bhavan Yasya Sradadhatam Ashu Syan Mukunde Matihi Sati Tadaham te vidyasyami Mahaporushiko Bhavan Yasya Sradhadatam Ashu Syan Mukunde Mati Sati Tadaham te vidyasyami Mahaporushiko Bhavan
Mahapaurashiko Bhavan
Yasya Sradadatam Ashu
Yasya Sadatam Asu
Syanmukundamati Sati
Syanmukunde Mati Sati
Syanmukunde Mati Sati
Syanmukunde Mati Sati
Tadaham te bidhasyami
Tadaham te vidyasyami
Mahaporushiko Bhavan
Mahapaurashiko Bhavan
Yasya Sradhadatam Ashu
Yasya Sadatam Asu
Syan Mukunde Mati Sati
Syanmukunde Mati Sati
तदहं ते विधास्यामि
Tadaham te vidyasyami
महापौरुषिको भवान्
Mahapaurashiko Bhavan
यस्य श्रद्धतामाशु
Yasya Sadatam
श्यामकुन्दे मतिष्ठति
Syanmukunde Mati Sati
तदहं ते विधिष्यामि
Tadaham te
Vidyasyami
महापौरुषिको भवान्
Mahaporushiko Bhavan
यस्य श्रद्धाधतं अशु
Yasya Sradhadatam Asu
मुकुन्दे मति सति
Syan Mukunde Mati Sati
Tadaham te vidyasyami
Tadaham te bidhasyami
Mahapurushiko Bhavan
Mahaporushiko Bhavan
Yasya Sadatamam
Yasya Sradhadatam Ashu
Syanmukunde Mati Sati
Syan Mukunde Mati Sati
तदहं ते विधास्यामि
Tadaham te bidhasyami
महापौरुषिको भवान्
Mahaporushiko Bhavan
यस्य सददतमसु
Yasya Sradhadatam Asu
स्यान्मुकुन्द मति सति
Syan Mukunde Mataji.
तदहं ते विदास्यामि
Tadaham te bidhasyami
महापुरुषिको भवान्
Mahaporushiko Bhavan
यस्य श्रद्धामासु
Yasya Sradhadatam Ashu
स्यान्मुकुन्दे मति सति
Syan Mukunde Mati Sati Mataji. Mataji.
तदहं ते विधस्यामि
Tadaham te bidhasyami
महापौरोषिको भवन्
Mahaporushiko Bhavan
यस्य श्रद्धाधतमाशु
Yasya Sradhadatam Ashu
श्यामकुन्दे मति सति
Syan Mukunde Mati Sati Tat That Aham I Te Unto you Abhidyasyami shall recite Mahapurushikaha the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna Bhavan your good self Yasya of which Sradhadatam of one who gives full respect and attention Ashu very soon it so becomes Mukunde unto the Lord who awards salvation Matihi faith Sati unflinching. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. That very Srimad Bhagavatam I shall recite before you because you are the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna. One who gives a full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation. Kind of repeat after me. That very Srimad Bhagavatam
That very Srimad Bhagavatam
I shall recite before you,
is said before you,
because you are
because you are
the most sincere devotee
the most sincere devotee
of Lord Krishna,
of Lord Krishna,
one who gives full attention
one who gives full attention
and respect
and respect
to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam,
to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam,
achieves unflinching faith
achieves unflinching faith
in the Supreme Lord,
in the Supreme Lord,
the giver of salvation.
giver of salvation.
Report. Srimad Bhagavatam is recognized Vedic wisdom, and the system of receiving Vedic knowledge is called Avaroha Pantha, or the process of receiving transcendental knowledge through bona fide disciplic succession. For advancement of material knowledge, there is a need for personal ability and researching aptitude. But in the case of spiritual knowledge, all progress depends more or less on the mercy of the spiritual master. The spiritual master must be satisfied with the disciple. Only then is knowledge automatically manifest before the student of spiritual science. The process should not, however, be misunderstood to be something like magical feats, whereby the spiritual master acts like a magician and injects spiritual knowledge into his disciple, as if surcharging him with an electric current. The bona fide spiritual master reasonably explains everything to the disciple on the authorities of Vedic wisdom. The disciple can receive such teachings not exactly intellectually, but by submissive inquiries and a service attitude. By submissive inquiries and a service attitude. The idea is that both the spiritual master and the disciple must be bona fide. In this case, the spiritual master, Shukadeva Goswami, is ready to recite exactly what he has learned from his great father, Srila Vyasadeva, and the disciple, Maharaj Parikshit, is a great devotee of Lord Krishna. A devotee of Lord Krishna is he who believes sincerely that by becoming a devotee of the Lord, one becomes fully equipped with everything spiritual. This teaching is imparted by the Lord Himself in the pages of the Bhagavad Gita, in which it is clearly described that the Lord, Sri Krishna, is everything, and that to surrender unto Him solely and wholly makes one the most perfectly pious man. This unflinching faith in Lord Krishna prepares one to become a student of Srimad Bhagavatam. And one who hears Srimad Bhagavatam from a devotee like Shukadeva Goswami is sure to attain salvation at the end, as Maharaj Parikshit did. The professional reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam and the pseudo-devotees whose faith is based on 1 week's hearing are different from Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. Srila Vyasadeva explained Srimad Bhagavatam unto Shukadeva Goswami from the very beginning of Janmadyasya verse, and so Shukadeva Goswami also explained it to the king. Lord Krishna is described as the Mahapurusha in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, in his devotional feature as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Lord Krishna himself in his devotional attitude, descended on earth to bestow special favors upon the fallen souls of this age of Kali. There are 2 verses particularly suitable to offer as prayers to this Mahapurusha feature of Lord Krishna. Jeyam sada paribhavagnam abhistadoham Tirthaspadam Shiva Virinchi Nutam Saranyam Vrityarthi Arin Pranata Pada Vadbi Podam Vande Mahapurusha Te Charanarabindam Tyaktva Sadusyaja Surepshita Rajya Lakshmim Dharmista Arya Bachasa Yad Agad Aranyam Maya Mrigam Dayita Yepshitam Anvadavad Vande Mahapurusha Te Charanarabindam This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, Text 33 and 34. In other words, Purusha means the enjoyer, and Mahapurusha means the supreme enjoyer or the supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. One who deserves to approach the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is called the Mahapurushika. Mahapurushika. Anyone who hears Srimad Bhagavatam attentively from its bona fide reciter is sure to become a sincere devotee of the Lord, who is able to award liberation. There was none so attentive as Maharaj Parikshit in the matter of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And there was none so qualified as Shukadeva Goswami to recite the text of Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, anyone who follows in the footsteps of either the ideal reciter or the ideal hearer, Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, respectively, will undoubtedly attain salvation like them. Maharaj Parikshit attained salvation by hearing only, and Shukadeva Goswami attained salvation only by reciting. Recitation and hearing are two processes out of 9 devotional activities. And by strenuously following the principles, either in all or by parts, one can attain the absolute plane. So the complete text of Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the Janma Jasya verse up to the last one in the 12th canto. Was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami for the attainment of salvation by Maharaj Parikshit. In the Padma Purana, it is mentioned that Gautama Muni advised Maharaj Ambarish to hear regularly Srimad Bhagavatam as it was recited by Shukadeva Goswami. And herein it is confirmed that Maharaj Ambarish heard Srimad Bhagavatam from the very beginning to the end as it was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. One who is actually interested in the Bhagavatam, therefore, must not play with it by reading or hearing a portion from here and a portion from there. One must follow in the footsteps of great kings like Maharaj Ambarish or Maharaj Parikshit and hear it from a bona fide representative of Shukadeva Goswami. Translation again. That very Srimad Bhagavatam I shall recite before you because you are the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna, one who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation. So from the very beginning of this purport, and in the purport itself also, Prabhupada refers to the Srimad Bhagavatam as recognized Vedic wisdom. Wisdom. It is, as we have heard in previous verses, the topmost knowledge, the culmination of all Vedic knowledge is actually contained, and we could say also hidden. Vedic knowledge in many ways is containing hidden knowledge. Hidden knowledge means simply by reading we cannot, this is pointed out by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, it's not simply by our intelligence that we can understand. This is nicely explained also by Lord Brahma. Vedeshu dolabam adolabam atma bhaktao. Advaitam anadim anantarupam adgyam purana purusham navayovanam cha. Vedeshu dolabam adolabam atma bhaktao. Dolabam means very difficult. Simply to hear or to read on our own Vedic knowledge, and we could say especially Srimad Bhagavatam, we will not be so easily be successful in understanding the actual message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada explains the translation, the verse itself is explaining how both the person hearing and the person reciting must have basic qualifications. And this is especially exemplified in the personalities sitting on the banks of the Ganges when the Bhagavatam was first spoken by Shukadev Goswami. And Srila Prabhupada warns about the shortcuts that people tend to take in hearing or in reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a whole systematic process. That's why Srila Prabhupada, in the early days, from the very beginning, spoke about Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, specific a process whereby one, Prabhupada uses the word systematically. As a matter of fact, in the first of 7 purposes describing what is the purpose of this society that Srila Prabhupada established, what is the purpose of the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The first one, Prabhupada uses the word systematically, to systematically teach this most exalted knowledge, which is actually a science, scientific knowledge. Both Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam give us, introduce us to very systematic and very scientific knowledge of both the absolute truth in terms of transcendental knowledge, as well as material knowledge, which is dealt with, of course, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, about this material creation. It is very, very scientifically created and functioning in such a way that it is not so easy to understand. Especially there are descriptions in the Srimad Bhagavatam in terms of the cosmology. All subject matters are dealt with very much in detail. There's description of the time factor, which is we in the Western world, we are taught about years, months, weeks, days, hours, seconds, and that's it. But in the Bhagavatam, under, below seconds, there are, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 or maybe more divisions in terms of time. The whole, how a child, is conceived, is also described, and the development within the womb of the mother. So many details are actually provided in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, the highest level of transcendence, which culminates later on in the pages of the Bhagavatam, when one has properly studied under proper guidance, and with the, especially mentions here, proper mood, which is meant to be service attitude. Service attitude, Srila Prabhupada emphasized so many times. And he would point out to some devotees who were nicely engaged in performing devotional service, how one needs to develop this proper mental, it's called mental disposition, service attitude, understanding that our constitutional position is to engage nicely in the humble frame of mind in serving the Lord, and serving not only the Lord, but in serving everything that is actually very dear to the Lord. So Srimad Bhagavatam, we are hearing from Shukadeva Goswami himself. He is the embodiment of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He received the Srimad Bhagavatam, knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavatam directly from his father, Srila Vyasadeva, who is described as the literary incarnation of Godhead. Therefore, the most qualified person to recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be our, it is described actually that in this age of Kali especially, it will be the guiding light in this dark age of Kali Yuga, where what is especially prominent are the modes of passion and ignorance. There are various verses in the Bhagavatam describing how one will be able to receive proper guidance in all respects simply by taking shelter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We were mentioning the other day how this was the example given actually by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, isn't it? In Jagannath Puri, Lord Chaitanya was simply relishing especially the discourses and the various pastimes and so many different verses that are especially in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which culminated, of course, in in knowing about and re-establishing. This is mentioned here, of course, as well. Mukunda, Krishna, he is Mukunda. He is the giver of liberation, liberation from the entanglement in which we find ourselves in the material world, liberation from the threefold miseries of life, liberation from the three modes of material nature, because that is what is keeping the living entity, conditioned soul, in a condition of ignorance, ignorance and suffering. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the postgraduate knowledge and postgraduate study, described here again as the recognized Vedic wisdom. Why the word recognize? Because if we study throughout the history, some of the greatest scholars and scientists, I mean, our Vaishnavacharyas, they are actually the real scientists and scholars who have, like our own founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, has especially focused and dedicated their lives for presenting, for studying, and for spreading this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. And we likewise have been given this mandate of hearing on a regular basis. It is described as one of the 5 most powerful or potent ways by which we can receive knowledge, by which we can become purified. Beginning, of course, with, automatically when we hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, we generally hear it in the association of devotees. So sadhu sangha is the beginning, actually, of all this. Is nicely explained throughout the Bhagavatam as well. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavata Sravana. Bhagavata Sravana Mathura Vasa Srimurtira Sradhaya Sevana Sakala Sadhana Shrestha E Pancha Anga Krishna Prema Janamaya E Pancher Alpo Sangha. Alpo Sangha means even with a slight or short, small amount, I mean, this recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam as recited by Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj was only 7 days, which Prabhupada, of course, here and in many places points out how this general recitation that is ongoing very often, maybe not all the time, but very often by persons who are not ideal in terms of qualification. It is not something that should be misused in this way. I mean, this, what is called Bhagavad Sapta, which is very popular in India especially. Of course, within our society, we have also introduced Bhagavad Sapta. It was a little controversial in the beginning, but then there were specific guidelines, the whole set of guidelines given for for reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is not meant when we, of course, within our society, we systematically, from canto to canto, when we visit temples, devotees are hearing from different cantos, which is how it is meant to be. And of course, we all know within our society we have, as desired by Srila Prabhupada, those who are more serious in wanting to more deeply go into the content of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There are different systematic courses that are there, which were identified and for which names were given by Srila Prabhupada also. So somehow we need to develop, and this is being stated here actually, if we regularly and systematically approach the content of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this gradual purification will take place, and by this gradual purification we will get a taste actually for hearing the Bhagavatam, and we will develop more and more appreciation for actually following the Bhagavatam and also making the Bhagavatam available to as many people as possible. That is, of course, ongoing as well. Receiving a set, actually every family should have a set of the Bhagavatam in their homes, on their shelves. The Bhagavatam has been printed very nicely. Some years back in France, they gave us a very nice title to the Bhagavatam. Anyone know? Well, if you don't know French, I guess you Huh? Emperor, huh? What's the title that they gave? Okay. Anyways.
I was there. Emperor? But I don't remember.
Les grands classiques de l'Inde.
Yeah.
Les grands classiques. Grand means big, you know. Classic means classical. It's like, you know, in Western countries, people are attracted to classical music, right? I used to listen to classical music because classical music, you know, is very different from modern day, pop music, whatnot. So classical music is, you know, generally puts one in, you know, relaxes one, puts one a bit in the mode of goodness, and it's, you know, good for the mind. So actually, they used to have, maybe they still have in France, in the educational system, they have what is called le cours classique, which I followed actually many years ago, where Latin was taught. You know, the cours classique. It was like an 8-year course. After doing your primary, you start le cours classique. You know, éléments, syntaxe, méthode, versification, belles-lettres, rhétorique, philosophy 1, philosophy 2, culminating in philosophy 2. Yeah, so 8 years. And very nice, you know, very systematic and reminiscent. I think it's connected, offshoot of Vedic, system. Because in Vedic education, this is something that will be taught in our Varnashram College. Those who are meant to become brahmanas, so they have a specific, very specific training. You're very far away. Can hardly see you. So it's called Chatur Dasa Vidya. Chatur Dasa Vidya means 14 specific books of knowledge. Brahmanas, when one goes to Gurukul, one is meant to take up 14 specific books of knowledge. The whole Vedic culture and the whole Vedic, let's say, society, whole Vedic lifestyle is molded around these sciences that we spoke about before, Chaturvidya. Chaturvidya, so one of those sciences is the science of education for Brahmanas. It's called Trayi, and it's based on these 14 books of knowledge. So likewise, we were discussing how Anvikshiki is based on also specific books that are standard, because this is standard knowledge. It mentions about recognized Vedic wisdom means standard knowledge. So we were discussing yesterday also how this is the knowledge that is meant to be the standard knowledge in all, well, Prabhupada was mentioning in all schools and universities. Of course, if we follow as we are meant to as well, the Vedic system of education, then the formal level, Vedic education is actually divided into formal and non-formal education. Formal education is for Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. Formal education is also called academic education. And nowadays we're trying to make everyone into everyone practically is sent for formal education, but that is artificial because most people are not meant for formal education. Formal education requires good brain, because in Kali Yuga practically no one has good brain. But even those who have more brain substance or more natural ability to study, there will always be very, very few, you know, unless your village is like Shantipur, where everyone is born in a Brahmana family. But Shantipurs are very rare. You know, Brahmana villages, generally society, especially in Kali Yuga, people are much less inclined for intellectual pursuits. So general mass of people, that's why there's so much of anxiety, so much of tension amongst students. That's why, I mean, we have a project in South India, in the district of Udupi. Who has been to Udupi? Yeah, only one fortunate soul here. Udupi is called? Huh? And there's another name? Gupta, not Gupta. Dakshin Vrindavan, yeah. We're living in Gupta Vrindavan. Mayapur is Gupta Vrindavan. But yeah, Dakshin Vrindavan. You actually have peacocks. Not like in Mayapur, where we hear jackals. You can hear I miss South India because we don't hear the peacocks, but there are peacocks everywhere in South India. It's very, very nice. So, now I forget the trend. I was on a particular trend. Anyways.
The education, everyone's
yes.
push for education, but no employment.
Yes. Education. There was something about education connected with South India. In any event.
Projects of India.
Yeah. It's places like South India, which is still quite Brahminical in nature, and yeah. Anyway, the point being that Vedic culture and Vedic knowledge, which is very nicely presented.
Everyone's not meant for formal education. Some will be for informal.
Yes, formal education.
Difficulty within villages.
Yes. Actually, what we don't know or don't understand is that majority, okay, It's just coming back. When I was there, there's a very famous educational center in Manipal.
Yes.
Manipal is,
Yes.
yeah,
All
Manipal.
kinds of colleges.
All people, all kinds of people from all parts of India, and also from abroad. They come to study in Manipal, especially medical science. Yes, it's known for its medical. Yeah. So it was not uncommon. We would hear this occasionally because our project is 30 kilometers from Manipal, more or less. There's a small town called Hibli. So from Hibli to Udupi is about 25, 30 kilometers. But very often we would hear of students studying in Manipal, and it's not uncommon, not only in Manipal, just jumping out the window and committing suicide. Suicide amongst students in the world is quite high because there's so much of pressure from family and from society as well. And the whole society is arranged in that way that if you don't get your degree, if you don't get a good job, etc., then you're a failure in society. And that's the unfortunate situation. And therefore, it means basically the majority of students, practically speaking, in all educational institutions today are not meant to be there.
Many after graduating, they're still doing menial jobs, most of them.
Correct, yeah. Or they become unemployed.
Just don't have the nature.
Right, that's what Prabhupada mentions in this purport in the 10th canto, where the whole modern system is such that the end result is that many people end up, which is the case today in very high percentage also, end up actually not, even if they're very qualified, with whatever degree it may be. So in other words, Bhagavatam is not only, and this is very important, not only is the Bhagavatam bringing us to the highest level of transcendental realization, transcendental knowledge, but the Bhagavatam also, through examples and through instructions, is teaching us and giving various examples of how society is meant to be managed and how people are meant to be engaged. And this is connected, of course, with the whole concept, which we find also in the Bhagavad Gita, of prescribed duties. What are meant to be the natural Vedic prescribed duties for all of humanity. We find that especially in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, the last 5 chapters, 11 to 15, where Narada Muni gives a very detailed, systematic, and a scientific description of what he describes as perfect society. I mean, the title of chapter 11 is Perfect Society, the 4 social divisions. In chapter 12, Perfect Society, the 4 spiritual divisions, ashrams, isn't it? Then ideal family life. These are all, in other words, why the Bhagavatam is so important? Because not only it gives us that full scientific understanding of transcendence, which culminates, of course, in knowing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his eternal activities in the spiritual world, which are manifest and introduced to us when he performs his pastimes in Vrindavan, but also the whole, again, scientific way. Both levels of knowledge, means the spiritual realm as well as the material realm. Krishna's creation is very very scientific and very detailed as well. From what is called micro and macro, right? Two levels, and going into detail in terms of how that's also described in the Bhagavatam, how atoms, I don't know the details, how they come together and...
Trisareno.
Huh?
Trisareno. 2 hex atoms.
2?
Hex atoms.
Oh, okay.
Anu, Trisareno is 3 atoms.
So it goes...
And then 2 of...
Right.
Quoting from the third canto.
From the
third
third
canto
canto.
it's mentioned.
Yeah. And so from what is the smallest to the biggest, basically, yeah. From the
Come
smallest.
together and become molecular.
Yes. So yes. So I'll just read the translation again here. If there's any comment or question, we can take a few minutes. So this was the translation of text number 10. This is Shukadeva Goswami speaking. That very Srimad Bhagavatam I shall recite before you because you are the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna. One who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation. Yes. Do we have... We don't have our runner? You have to replace? Yes.
So you mentioned this verse at the second line, that full attention
And respect
and unflinching faith.
Yes.
So this is already 3 principles, and that's, you mentioned, not easy to understand the Bhagavatam because it's not just one line, like mathematics, just go one by one and then you become really, expert in mathematical calculation. But Srimad Bhagavatam is always like a complex science, and not just complex science, but qualities also have to develop side by side of the hearing process. So
Yes.
Can you speak about these 3 aspects of how we develop unflinching faith by respect and by very attentive listening? What if one of the 3 is a little bit not complete or
Yes.
missing?
Well, means because the subject matter is similar to Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explains, isn't it, in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Bhaktosi me sakachiti rahasyam hitarutamam. This knowledge is very confidential knowledge. Similarly, it's like if the ABC is confidential knowledge, what to speak of postgraduate study, right? Even more confidential.
Yes.
So therefore, the need for understanding that, now we've graduated from primary school and we're entering college or university. So there's higher knowledge that is there. That means I have to be more attentive, and I have to also be this aspect of respect means having some appreciation for uh, for this topmost knowledge, which has been by Krishna's mercy and by the mercy of his various representatives, the acharyas, has been is being presented, is being handed down from generation to generation. So it means that all that is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we should be following. We should be endeavoring to put into practice. And the other, the fourth one, which is mentioned in the first line, the second line mentions these three, and in the first line, it mentions about something that Prabhupada often would emphasize, sincerity at heart. Very, very basic and fundamental, that devotees remain sincere in wanting to understand and wanting to practice, and the details or the specifics of how, as you pointed out, as it is mentioned here, one should be fully attentive, alert in in hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, and one should give respect. We see actually in villages in India, I've had, I'm sure I'm not the only one, of course, who had that experience of seeing how in villages they actually wrap the Srimad Bhagavatam into a special cloth, and they, when they're going to be reciting the Bhagavatam, there's a whole process. They worship the Bhagavatam even before opening the pages. I mean, they'll spend half an hour before they actually start reading it. And we just, scroll the books here and there sometimes. So this is part of giving respect. This is like the Bhagavatam is, as it is explained, also is not different from Krishna. It is worshipable. It's like a deity. Even like in 500 years ago, I was mentioning how there was one prominent person by the name of, his name was, what was his name? Shankar or something like that. During the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had a tremendous appreciation and respect for the Bhagavatam. So much so that actually he convinced, he was preaching in Assam. And practically the whole of Assam, they had the Bhagavatam on the altar as a deity, and people would worship every day. Yeah. So that's part of giving respect, and of course, yes, increasing our faith is connected with conviction that this, as it is described in the Bhagavatam, this is the means of conquest, right? We recite this verse every day. Bhagavatam is a means of conquest in terms of ourselves, conquering over whatever is unfavorable for our awakening and development of Krishna consciousness, and also conquest in terms of giving proper information to society, especially to leaders in society, how to organize society, how to provide properly for the people, both spiritually and material, which means the whole Vedic system of Varna and Ashrama. That system is there to favor, to facilitate, to accelerate, Prabhupada mentions, to accelerate the development of spiritual life, spiritual qualities. Yes. Yes.
Guru Maharaj, this is just a thought. I don't think we can solve for this. But as you were mentioning that we see a lot of students, you go through this extreme academic pressure without any connection with their guna or even potential for employment. So even if those who don't commit suicide, they are wasted almost half of their life, or at least quarter of their life, studying things that they're never going to use and still doing miserable jobs. Even if it's a white collar job, then also it's miserable.
Yeah.
And if you look at the history, it seems, even if you just take one country, let's say India, the Vedic culture was very extant, even like 100 years ago. More or not many industries is still doing more, traditions of their forefathers. So it took, after independence, it took the government more than 7 decades of government machinery, activism, and propaganda to take people out of their hereditary roles and put them in schools.
Yes.
So if you have to undo this and put them back, it's just the scope of work and the time and energy,
Yes.
especially without the support of government machinery.
Yes.
It just seems like a very daunting task.
Krishna can bypass all of that. Yes.
Right.
Krishna bypasses bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It's like the example for all of us is when COVID hit, the whole world within few hours, few days, was like, it turned the lives of people upside down practically.
And there were blue skies all over Delhi. No foaming effluents in Yamuna.
Yeah,
Yamuna was all clear.
Yes.
Just within a less than a week.
Yeah, because factories, industries came to a halt, whatever. Yeah. So nature actually, Krishna, we know, he can just pull the plug, as they say. Yeah. Yes, you are on.
Yeah.
Not so close, maybe. Anyways, yeah. Bolo. He's tongue-tied.
There is actually, it is depends on mercy. That means which we studied now. So how it is, what are the general principles which are depend on mercy, not only personal ability.
How to get mercy.
How to develop spiritual progress, not only in personal ability, but on that is mercy, through the mercy, spiritual mercy, not personal ability. Yes.
Causeless mercy.
Causeless mercy. How to get causeless mercy.
Yeah, that means whatever we are trying to know from this particular subject.
Yes.
So it is not our personal ability can do this.
Correct.
Through the mercy can do.
Yes.
So how it is described.
That is by becoming more and more sincerely absorbed in activities of bhakti, devotional service. That's nicely explained in 2 verses, especially the one which is both of them quite well known. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahaitukam. Ahaituki means causeless. Causeless knowledge, causeless detachment will come for those who are nicely engaged in devotional service to Krishna. And how to become nicely engaged in devotional service to Krishna, we must first come to the mode of goodness. We must first learn to control our mind and our senses, and that begins especially with regularly hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam, and that verse which is again describing how that mercy will come is in the 1st canto, 2nd chapter. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavat bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. That when one is situated in the mode of goodness, then at that time he can nicely begin to engage in activities of bhakti, devotional service. And by such activities of devotional service, he attracts Krishna's attention, and therefore Krishna gives His mercy in the form of, in many different forms, one of them being in understanding more clearly, more deeply, and in surrendering more and more to the whole process. So it's all there actually in the Bhagavatam. We simply need to either become or increase our sincerity in serving Krishna. And in the purport here, it mentions how it depends more or less on the mercy of the spiritual master. So the original spiritual master is Krishna. So we must learn to actually please Krishna by pleasing his representative and the devotees. All those things, either living entities or things that are dear to Krishna, if we are also giving proper care and attention and serving, then Krishna becomes pleased and he becomes inclined to actually give his mercy. Yeah. And I think we need to bring it to a close. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Pimanande.
Jai.